What I said was holding a Bitcoin ETF is like taking a vacation in VR,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right? So it's like you're not actually taking a vacation. You're sitting in your living room with a headset, and you're not feeling the hot sun, the wind. You can't go swimming. You can't eat food, and the comparison is that holding a Bitcoin in an ETF, like you're not holding the Bitcoin. You don't own the Bitcoin. We're looking at 12, 13 years that have passed since a lot of these guys got in. And so it makes perfect sense to me that a lot of OGs would be selling. And you've got other people kind of accusing these institutions of some price manipulation. I saw a tweet yesterday that they think Jane Street is dumping the price at the open every day to then, get slightly better pricing. I like what Saylor's doing. I've been nothing but impressed. I think it's genius. It's brilliant. Obviously, I wouldn't tell people to buy Master over Bitcoin, but I think he's providing, if you look at STRC, this is like a 10% yield mint, and there are no shortage of people who are just looking for 10%. 1 in 5 people up here works for the government. And,
Wow.
and so with that kind of support, you can see how these budgets are getting as big as they are because 20% of the country is benefiting from it directly. The long-term guaranteed solution is getting more Bitcoiners into Parliament, getting Bitcoin into the hands of more Canadians, and however long it takes, until we're on the Bitcoin standard, and the government can't create money.
What are your thoughts on the Bitcoin price right now?
I think there's more upside than downside.
Okay. Do you have any wild predictions for next year?
Wild predictions? Let me give a USD, 400K USD.
Next year?
2026.
Welcome to the Bitcoin broadcast. Today we have on Aubrey, CEO of Beaver Bitcoin up in Canada. How are you doing today, man?
Great, Vince. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Do you mind just giving a little background about yourself? I have no idea exactly what Beaver Bitcoin is, but just give a little background, a little history of yourself, how you came to find Bitcoin, and how you became the founder of Beaver Bitcoin.
For sure. So I've been working in startups in software my whole career, and I've been working at a company prior to Beaver, another small startup, and that's where I first started learning about Bitcoin. I took the long way, so I did come through crypto first and did a full cycle with no idea what I was doing, but it was the start of my learning, and then that startup ended, and it was around COVID lockdowns when I was out of a job and had become fully orange pilled by then. Had recently read the Bitcoin Standard, and was just kind of sitting at home thinking, like, what am I going to do? All these companies that I was applying to were laying people off instead of hiring, and I was applying to be a product manager, which is already a super competitive position to land at a startup, and obviously just wasn't going to happen. So I'm sitting there and thinking, like, all I can think about is Bitcoin. I'm orange pilling all of my family members and friends, and when it would come around to the time to helping them make their first purchase, there wasn't a whole lot of choice for exchanges here in Canada, or at least as a startup person, as a product person, I wasn't like thrilled with the experiences that they were having, and so after thinking about it for a bit, I just thought, why don't I build the exchange that I want for them, just keeping it super simple, Bitcoin only, non-custodial, and got together with a few buddies and started working on it, and took us a few years to get off the ground. From 2020, we had like a year of testing, and then had an official launch in November of 2022, but that's the short version.
That's awesome. If you don't mind, I use Strike primarily here in the United States,
Yeah.
because I used to use Coinbase. Everyone uses Coinbase here. Are those available in Canada, and how does yours compare to those exchanges?
Yeah, Strike isn't, Coinbase is, and and obviously the biggest difference is that we're non-custodial. So when you send us money, we send it directly to your wallet. We ask you for a wallet address while you're onboarding, while you're signing up for our platform, and that's going to be your biggest difference. So Bitcoin only, non-custodial. There's no distractions, and it's very simple. Like we don't even have limit orders. Like you send us money, and the Bitcoin's in your wallet within a few minutes. It's almost like an online ATM in that way.
Oh, dang. So is that have you found that that's been pretty easy for people to pick up on, like entering an address for a wallet, or do you guys help people get through that process?
Occasionally we'll help people if they're totally brand new and they're coming to us, but we also recommend Blue Wallet if you're signing up and we ask for your wallet address. We say just you don't have a Bitcoin wallet, we recommend Blue, and so they can go and get that super easy mobile wallet for their first Bitcoin wallet.
Nice. Did you guys raise money for this, or is this all you guys?
A little bit, yeah. We did like a small pre-seed about 2 years ago. We raised just under 200,000 Canadian. But we brought on a great team of angels, some Bitcoin OGs. Um, Lightning Ventures actually out of Miami, if you're familiar with them, and and we are gonna be raising again shortly, looking to do a proper seed round.
Oh, nice. You guys should do a little seed round on what is it, like Thunder or something? I remember
Thunder Funder,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I've invested in the Orange Pill app and
nice,
one other thing, and now I can't remember because I didn't invest much. But yeah, you guys should
yeah,
totally do a seed round on
yeah.
there.
I'll ask Mike if we can. Last time I checked, I thought it was only for American companies, but if we can, that would be fun.
Yeah, no, I would totally invest a little bit in you guys. That'd be super cool to
Yeah,
help out
gladly.
Canadian exchange, man. Have you guys had any pushback or anything from government, or what's the response been?
Yeah, no, the regulations up here are pretty clear on non-custodial exchanges. Um, you as long as you're registered as an MSB, as a money services business, then you're really good to go. Um, of course, you have to be compliant under the regulators here, but it's much different than being a custodial exchange. So here, to be a custodial exchange, you are considered a securities dealer, and that the crypto or the Bitcoin on that platform is considered a security, and that comes with a whole different regulatory process and lawyers, and probably looking at a couple hundred grand or $1 million just to get that registration.
Oh, okay. Um, so when you say non-custodial, so you guys, can you just kind of walk me through how it works? Because I'm unfamiliar with how exchanges work. I just go on there, I hit buy, smash buy it, I get my Bitcoin,
Yeah.
move it off, everything like that. So do you guys hold a stash of Bitcoin? Where do you guys get your Bitcoin? So if I come on your exchange, buy it, and then you say you transfer it to my wallet, where do you guys
Mhm.
get it? How does all this work?
Yeah, so we work with liquidity providers where we're getting our Bitcoin from their institutional providers that work with, other businesses or exchanges. So when you send us money, we that money's coming through a payment processor, lands in our account, and then we're selling you Bitcoin from our stash, or just making the purchase for you in real time and delivering there. There's a few different ways it can work depending on the size of your buy, but that's it. And we don't custody your Canadian dollars and we don't custody your Bitcoin. It's all through and through.
Okay, so do you guys just take like a small spread fee then? Is there just like a
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, ours is 1.5%.
okay, that's not bad. I mean, you look at Coinbase and Jesus, sometimes I swear they like rape you with your I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
allowed to say that on YouTube. They really get you good
they
with
do.
with their fees.
A
And
lot of companies do, and there's, it's hard for people to compare. Um, because at the end of the day, everyone's saying their fee or their spread, but that's on top of the base price. And so like all that really matters is how many sats you're actually getting for your 150 smash buy, right?
Yeah.
And and then even on top of that, if you're like trying to take it into self custody, you need to consider the withdrawal fee. Some exchanges might be charging you $20 to withdraw, and so then your coins are stuck on that exchange until you have a big enough withdrawal that $20 is going to be worth it. And so we're super transparent. At the end of the day, like our final price is among the lowest in Canada, so we're super competitive, and we're paying the network fee for your purchases. They're delivered on chain,
Okay.
and
And
it's good.
you guys say you support like non KYC, correct?
I mean, personally, I'm a fan, but we do have to KYC all
Okay.
of our customers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was kind of trying to look at it, do a little research before this, and yeah, you guys had, or you say on your Twitter page a lot like non KYC and the importance of self custody and stuff. So how do you guys get out that message to people? Use Beaver, and then we really want you guys to custody your own. What kind of messaging are you guys sending out for that?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to the fact that people are intimidated by self custody, and and so our message is it's a new concept, but it's not hard. When you download Blue Wallet, you create that wallet, you write down your 12 words. You're doing that in less time than it takes to set up a Gmail account, right?
Yeah.
And then you're done. So like, of course, it helps if you got someone walking it through with you. We have guides, help guides like step one, step two, step three, or literally just skip the guide, download the app, and walk through the prompts. And Blue Wallet has made it super easy. And so I think again, it's a great wallet for beginners.
Okay. Yeah, I've actually never used Blue Wallet. I have like Moon Wallet, and I have like a
Oh,
time.
it's similar. It's similar to Moon. I think Moon handles the backup phrase a little differently, but yeah.
Okay. So for people that are listening that don't know, KYC is know your customer, and you have to fill out a whole bunch of information, basically kind of dox yourself to who you are. How do you suggest people go about non KYC Bitcoin, or non KYC taking control of it, if you want to be completely sovereign? I mean, because otherwise every exchange pretty much has to ask who you are. You have to provide your identity. um how would you suggest people like that go about getting non KYC?
Yeah. So yeah, just to clarify, like we are a KYC exchange. We have to identify all our customers um, as required by law, and also to prevent fraud on
Yeah.
our end. You'd be surprised how much fraud we're dealing with on a daily basis. Um, but how someone would go about getting non KYC Bitcoin, if that's the goal, I think you have these non KYC exchanges, so like BISC, RoboSats, HODL, Peach Bitcoin, um, and again, I think that's probably something for a little more seasoned Bitcoiner. We don't recommend that to beginners, just because it's like, what, I have to meet with someone or like send someone money who I've never met. And there's some friction there, and you want to make sure you're dealing with someone who's got a reputation, or a good reputation on the platform that you're using. And even then, there's always going to be risks, and it's limited. You're not going to be able to go and buy 100 grand of non KYC Bitcoin, whereas that's something we specialize in, and just you could sign up for Beaver and in the same day have 100 grand worth of Bitcoin in your bank account. The only other way to do non KYC it would be a Bitcoin ATM. So like under $1,000 here in Canada, you can uh, get that done, and the fee's a little higher, but
Okay. This is for my own personal kind of knowledge here. So you always hear about like Coinbase crashing, right? Every time the price is like spiking, it's going crazy, or crashing,
yeah.
and you can't buy, you can't sell, the whole thing collapses. How do exchanges deal with that? Like, how, if there's like a huge influx of, I mean, you guys are like pretty small, you said, starting out right now.
Mhm.
If you guys get like a massive influx of people, how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, we're just, it's a flow of funds thing for us, and how we do it is going to be very different than from how Coinbase does it. But if we have a float of Bitcoin that we're selling out of, And if that ever got depleted, then it would be depleted because we were selling Bitcoin, which means we have more Canadian dollars, which just means we have to buy more. So it's really not a huge problem for us. It's just okay, let's make sure the funds get there and buy the Bitcoin. With Coinbase, they run their own order book, right? So I don't know why Coinbase crashes, and it's always a little suspicious because it's like it's when Bitcoin's running, or around these periods of where all these like options are expiring, and so yeah, it's always been a little fishy
Yeah.
what happens over there.
Yeah, it's so frustrating to watch. I mean, yeah, everyone's pumped up. They're all excited that the Bitcoin price is like cruising past, 100K. Here we go. And
Yeah,
it goes up like, 5 grand in a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden everything is like halted. It's like,
yeah,
what the yeah, it's so frustrating. But,
yeah. Don't use
I did
Coinbase.
yeah, yeah. No, I stopped using Coinbase a while ago. I shouldn't say that. I guess I transferred the last of my Bitcoin off there this year. I still just had some on there, but finally, yeah, it's finally all off there. I was so
Nice,
frustrated
good
with
man.
them. Their fees are ridiculous. Like I said, they crash all the time.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so I was looking at your Twitter and you had this post about ETFs. You said it was like holding the Bitcoin ETF is like holding it in VR. Can you explain that?
Yeah, yeah. No, so what I said was holding a Bitcoin ETF is like taking a vacation in VR,
Oh, okay, okay.
right? So it's like you're not actually taking a vacation. You're sitting in your living room with a headset, and you're not feeling the hot sun, the wind. You can't go swimming. You can't eat food. And the comparison is that holding a Bitcoin in an ETF, like you're not holding the Bitcoin. You don't own the Bitcoin. Actually, have some kind of legal right to it. But you can't send it to anybody. You're not using it as Bitcoin in any sense. You're just exposed to the price, and you're paying someone for that price. Your annual management fee. And so um, obviously it makes sense if like you're a giant institution, and you can't easily just self custody Bitcoin because it would take you 10 years to get through the paperwork. So that's the best they can do in some cases. But for everyone else, just buy real Bitcoin and get it into a wallet.
What are your thoughts on the ETF? Do you have any concerns? I've asked a couple of other guests about this, but the ETFs are kind of weird. I have like, two mixed feelings. Like one, it gets people more engaged. Institutions can buy it. You can put it in a retirement fund, things like that. But on the other
Nice.
hand, I'm like, it's not Bitcoin. Like it's just not. What are your
Yeah.
feelings about the ETF?
Yeah. I mean, you have that that third party risk. It's a huge risk. You're trusting someone else to hold your Bitcoin, and we've never encountered something like Bitcoin before in the history of the world, and so we don't know how this is going to go with any certainty. And if we look back on gold in the 6102 event in the U.S., where they confiscated everybody's gold, it's not so ridiculous to think that that could happen. Um, if there was a crisis or an emergency, and it would be for your safety, but we just need to take all of the Bitcoin and stash it. And we'll give you, our Fed coin. Don't worry, you'll get your Fed coin. Yeah, I think it's definitely a real risk worth thinking about.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, we keep seeing it's like this week especially, even Michael Saylor was talking at that Bitcoin conference today or yesterday, um, about how he's talking to all these banks and how they're like pretty much on board with Bitcoin now. So, I mean, Bitcoin holding like I still wouldn't even trust a bank if they if they were gonna like, custodial my Bitcoin. Um, can you kind of explain, how you guys view self custody versus holding it with a bank, even though I know it's a big institution, they're supposed to be trusted, but you even brought up the gold scenario. Can you kind of walk us through that?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think a lot of these banks, like if they're allowing their client to purchase Bitcoin through the bank, it's probably custodied with like BitGo or one of these large custodians in the US. I don't know if you'd be able to withdraw it from the bank or from BitGo at that point to a wallet you control. So it really depends on kind of the specific bank how they're doing it, um, because there's going to be that nuance there. Who's ultimately the question is who's custodying the Bitcoin, and maybe it's Gemini, maybe it's BitGo, um, and so the risks might be different based on that. But obviously the way to avoid all of those risks is to just take self custody.
Yeah. Do you guys recommend hardware wallets? I mean, I know you said Blue Wallet, but
Hmm.
what kind of hardware wallets do you guys suggest?
Yeah, we recommend Blue for beginners and anyone who's just looking for that, quick solution, while they're sitting at their desk. They just want to buy Bitcoin for the first time. But for larger amounts, we recommend the Jade by Blockstream. There's also the Jade Plus now, and the Cold Card by CoinKite.
Oh,
And those
nice.
are we try to keep everything super simple. And so there are other great wallets, great hardware wallets, but those are the two that we recommend.
Awesome. Now, when we first started, you said in 2020 you were kind of orange pilling your family, and now it seems like you run a pretty big meetup there in Toronto. So, how is that
Yeah.
going? How is the
Yeah.
Bitcoin meet?
So the person running the meetup is Sunny Ray, and he's an OG Bitcoiner here in Toronto going back to 2012. And a few times over the course of I guess since then, he's built this meetup from like 5 people in a bar to 1,000 people in like a hotel conference room. And so we've just started the meetup back up, you know, very recently. And I think last week we had like 15 people out. Next week or sorry, after New Year's, we've got another, and we're hoping to get like 100. And we'll see, that might be ambitious, but he's done it before. I'm getting involved for the first time this time around. So we'll see what we can do.
How many newcomers do you guys see, do you think? I know it's kind of hard to tell, but I mean, you can kind of get
Yeah.
like a general gist.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the great thing about meetups is you get people bringing their family members and friends who are, kind of learning about it, and then they can, get exposed and meet more people who's not just the single person that won't shut up about Bitcoin at the dinner table, that they know and see, oh, there are more normal people that are into this thing. Uh, and so, yeah, I mean, last time if we had 15 people, I'd say there was three people who were more beginner, just learning about it.
Nice. Yeah, I went to my first Bitcoin meetup uh actually like a week ago, and shout out Neil. Um that was awesome. But it was a small Bitcoin meetup. It was maybe like 30 people, and even out of that there was like two completely new beginners, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I mean, small
Yeah.
meetups, and then you guys could have like 500 to 1,000 people. Um when you guys have these Bitcoin meetups, how are you guys orange pilling? What kind of things are happening in your Bitcoin meetups?
Yeah, I mean it's been super casual. We meet at the Firkin, which is just like a pub style restaurant. Um, Everyone gets a drink. Most people order food, and and we're just chatting. I mean, last week was cool. We kind of just went around the table. Everyone's sharing their story. How'd you get into Bitcoin? And I mean, I love that when you get to hear kind of how everyone's arrived, and that's it. That's it. Then the conversation just starts flowing, and people coming and going and moving around, and these smaller ones are great. I mean, obviously, I hope it keeps growing, but nothing beats just like 15 or 20 Bitcoiners around a giant kind of what do you call it? Just a big table.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so much fun. It's almost like addicting. It's like you just want to keep hanging out with Bitcoiners because you all just have like the same ideas, the same, or not maybe ideas,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like you all kind of
Mhm.
understand the same thing.
Yeah.
You all got orange pilled.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a guy last week who'd been watching a lot of YouTube videos, and all the YouTube videos had been telling him that like the bear market's here, this bull market's over. And I was shocked. I was like, whoa, I don't feel that way at all. Like I don't think that to be the case, like even remotely the case. I think the bull market is just starting. I don't even think we've seen the crazy run up and the manic blow off top. And so he's like, whoa, like okay, like I'll have to look into that. But he's just been getting like this very narrow view. So um I think it's yeah, so important to meet up in person and make sure you're not in an echo chamber.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of why I started doing this podcast because I just what orange pilled me, or one part of it was hearing other people explain how they got orange pilled, whether it was the 21 million moment, or, they read this book and it just clicked for them. And hearing those types of stories, like, kind of, I was like resonated with it. But yeah, YouTube is like a cesspool of hype, and it's
Yeah.
either, it's like we're going to a million tomorrow, or bear market's here, sell everything, Bitcoin's dead. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean the creators have to title these videos in a way where it gets clicks, and so they're trying to be as extreme as possible, like Bitcoin's dead or it's over, and it's not helping it.
No, no, not at all. Anyway, do you mind, you kind of brought up the cycles. That's what I was going. I was like, yeah, because talking about hype, and I mean, how are you feeling about this cycle? Because this cycle has been so different.
Yeah,
Everyone was expecting, green, 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 red type thing. It's the same thing, every 4 years, and everyone was expecting Q4 to just be this crazy run up, and we never got it. And now we're below where we started the year for 2025. It's kind of wild. What are your
yeah,
thoughts around that?
yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's something to the narrative about OGs selling, um, which no one could have predicted. But I think part of it is, some of these guys have been in for 10 years now, longer. They probably have kids, and they're seeing the price and the value of their holdings, and they're like, what, like I should probably take some off the top here, or take half off, and just solidify, because they have a family now. And I think that's the most likely case. I mean, we're looking at 12, 13 years that have passed since a lot of these guys got in. And so it makes perfect sense to me that a lot of OGs would be selling. And you've got other people kind of accusing these institutions of some price manipulation. I saw a tweet yesterday that they think Jane Street is dumping the price at the open every day to then, get slightly better pricing. I don't know about that, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of manipulation that's allowing them to accumulate um, for as long as they can. But if that is the case, then we are going to reach a point where they're done accumulating, or just the demand causes the price to finally break out. But my main thought around the cycle is that we haven't seen the real run up yet.
One thing that I heard, which made a lot of sense to me, let's say you bought, 10,000 Bitcoin back in 2011 for like
Right?
$1,000,
Yeah. Your
um,
cost basis
yeah, it's so low.
so low.
But even if you had 10,000 Bitcoin and we hit $20,000, back in 2017, you still, like, you're selling $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, right? Like, you're selling an astronomical amount of money worth of Bitcoin. And back then, Bitcoin was like still pretty frowned upon. Like, the regulators were not on board. So if you sold that amount of Bitcoin, your bank account, I guarantee you, would have been frozen. Like, they would have
Yeah.
stole your money. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so these guys finally have liquidity. Selling, that one guy sold like 80,000 Bitcoin, and we dropped like 3%, which was
Yeah.
wild. I was like, this is incredible. But
Yeah.
now they finally have kind of the okay from regulators, like, hey, you can sell your Bitcoin, like, just don't do anything shady, and here's your money. And they don't, their bank accounts aren't going to get seized. And I was like, I mean, hell, if I had that much money, I'd be selling too. Like, I wouldn't sell all of it, but if you're going to take 500 million to a billion off the table, I mean,
Yeah, no, especially when it comes to these people having families, it's like, well, yeah, you've been all in for so long. Like, even if there's just a 0.5% chance that something happens to Bitcoin, just make sure that you and your family and generations to come are safe. Like, why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah. I do think that okay, there's been massive selling, but I think there's been massive buying too. And
Mhm.
I don't think anyone really knows who is buying, if it's like institutions, sovereign nations. We know retirement funds are and stuff. Do you have any inclination on who could be buying?
We try to keep a pretty tight eye on it. We publish a newsletter every week, and we'll review kind of the biggest buyers of the week. And I mean, it's institutions, it's banks, it's you had the Czech central bank, and it was a small purchase, but I think for every Czech central bank buying 1 million, I think you can assume there's at least 20, 30, 40 other institutions that are buying more that we just don't hear about, right? It's You've kind of got that like 80-20 principle in play. You see the Harvard endowment loading up, and I mean all these firms, Meta Planet, Strategy, obviously. Um, so I think we see a lot. Like we see a lot of the headlines, and we're like, oh yeah, they're buying, they're buying, they're buying. But I think there's also a lot of buyers that don't make the headlines that are probably doing it more strategically.
Yeah, I mean, what a baller move would it be to, I mean, not baller, but because it's kind of frustrating for us, but like if they were literally just suppressing the price, like the
Yeah,
United States, just so they could load up on Bitcoin, like Eric Trump over here, and
yeah,
just like buying up all this cheap Bitcoin, and then they're just gonna let the price skyrocket next year when they lower rates or something.
yeah, yeah. Wouldn't put it past them.
I know. Um, what are your thoughts? You mentioned MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet. What are your thoughts about the treasury companies?
I think I like what Sailor's doing. I've been nothing but impressed. I think it's genius. It's brilliant. Um, Obviously, I wouldn't tell people to buy Master over Bitcoin, but I think he's providing, um, an what's what's the word? Like, I mean, if you look at STRC, this is like a 10% yield, and there are no shortage of people who are just looking for 10%. Like, if they can get 10% consistently and reliably, like that is huge. And they have no interest in exposing themselves to the volatility of Bitcoin. And we're talking about like big, again, like big institutions here. Um, but I think it's brilliant how he's like repackaged the volatility and is able to turn it into these like just financial instruments that actually can coexist inside the existing financial system. But at the end of the day, it's just plumbing, connecting actual Bitcoin or Bitcoin in its entirety to the traditional financial system. And I mean, it's like a channel. It starts off really small, and now it's getting wider and wider and wider until it's just going to be, a complete flood, or the dam breaks. He's making money off it. So it's really cool to see, honestly.
He's making so much money. I saw a post the other day that said, MicroStrategy was they had like $500 million of cash, and the company was worth like 700 million or $1 billion not long ago.
Yeah,
Now look at them. Like,
yeah,
it's
60
absolutely,
billion or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't believe more companies have not followed his lead. He's he's given everything public. Like you can literally just
Mhm.
follow his strategy. And
Yeah, I mean, that's where I kind of like wonder how many companies can do this like successfully, like because the alternative is going to be like, well, why don't you just buy Master or one of the products that Master offers, right? Like they've kind of cornered the market. So I feel like unless you're doing it in a completely new market, like you've got MetaPlanet in Japan, um, and then like there's companies that are trying to do it here in Canada, and to me, it's probably going to be like a winner take all or winner take most. Like I don't think every company can become a Bitcoin treasury company and sell its debt on the market. Like it's like why would you buy this company when you could just buy Masters, right?
yeah, I mean, I guess it's like the same thing that no one remembers second place. It's like, you remember Usain Bolt, but who got second place in that race, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, MicroStrategy, they've taken over the market. I mean, like you said, if you were gonna buy, you know, a treasury company, they have 640,000 Bitcoin. Like no
Hmm.
one's catching them. Uh, I mean, I guess you could technically say BlackRock kind of did, but you know, they're not holding it. That's just their ETF.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of switch to politics a little bit, if you don't mind, because
Sure. I'll do my best.
Canada is a you know, it's a disaster as far as I could tell. I've never actually been to Canada. First of all, how are things going up there?
Yeah, it's been a weird, I mean, since COVID, it's felt different up here, with the way the government is running. They're trying to push through some censorship bills now where they can just basically turn you off from accessing the internet. Uh, we've had this other weird censorship thing where like you can't view certain news outlets on Instagram. So yeah, it's not great.
Were you involved or I guess how involved were you potentially in the trucker protests and everything?
I actually wasn't living in Canada at the time, or I would have definitely went to support. But yeah, I was living in Spain. Um, we kind of got out during COVID or just before lockdowns went went fully over the edge. But yeah, no, I think it was really important what they did, and it needed to happen. I think we don't see nearly the same level of protesting happening in Canada, probably just because it's so spread out. Like, we're really East Coast, West Coast, and then Ontario, and like you have Toronto in the middle, Vancouver on the west. Um, all our major cities are, hundreds of kilometers apart, so it is tough for people to kind of get together physically. But no, that was really good to see, and I'm glad that happened.
It was fascinating to watch because I had friends here in the United States where I was like, look at what is happening up in Canada. And some people were like, oh, fuck the fuck the truckers. And I was just like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
Like, how
yeah.
how do you even I don't know what news stations were trying to like, you know, diminish
No,
the
news
truckers, but
stations were framing them as like redneck Nazis. Like I think literally like a Fed snuck a Nazi flag in, or like got as close as they could, and then of course they're taking photos of this specifically, and it was just totally fake and made up. And people were there with their kids, like playing music, like there was bouncy castles, like it was the most peaceful protest probably ever. And the violence was people honking their horns, was the truckers honking their horns. That was the whole point of the protest.
well, it's funny that they would portray, you know, first of all, Canadians, like, you guys aren't violent. And second of all, it's like they can point, like, the news will point at the trucker protest and say, like, look at these guys. They're being, you know, outlandish. They're being Nazis, whatever. And then when it came to like the BLM riots, it was like, look at this peaceful protest. Look at how they're helping
Mostly
each
peaceful.
other. Yeah, mostly peaceful. And then they like pan and like there's police stations like burning and there's like a
Yeah,
hundred people that died and it's
yeah,
like wait, how did we get this far that and people
yeah.
believe it? It's absolutely
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah,
How do you see Canada's economy, like the trajectory of it? I know that they're heading more socialist than anything. How do you see that moving
yeah,
forward?
yeah. It's a weird situation. One in five people up here works for the government, and
Wow.
and so with that kind of support, you can see how these budgets are getting as big as they are because 20% of the country is benefiting from it directly. So yeah, that's not a good place to be in, and I don't know how it gets better, even if marginally. People are very left and right up here, and so many people were so disappointed that the conservatives didn't win. Um, I kind of framed it as as like a rapid decline if the liberals had won, which they did, or a less rapid decline with the conservatives, but a decline either way. And I mean, that's why I do what I do with Bitcoin, because I don't think this is a problem that's going to go away until we really fix the money. Um, and we don't know how long that's going to take, but I don't see any like tangible short-term solutions. Again, 1 in 5 people working for the government. How do you undo that? Like you can't, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would take a massive amount of firing, and then everyone would hate everyone. I don't even know if that's physically. Is there any way that you guys could fix what's going on up there? Is there any solution besides Bitcoin? I mean, or explain how Bitcoin could change things up there.
I think like the long-term guaranteed solution is getting more Bitcoiners into parliament, getting Bitcoin into the hands of more Canadians, and however long it takes, um, until we're on the Bitcoin standard, and the government can't create money out of nothing, because I think it's just super corrupt. We're wasting a lot of money. There's a few X accounts that are just posting like what's going into some of these bills. And it's like we send however many millions of dollars overseas to educate people in Ghana about using transgender washrooms or something. And it's like, what? Like we can't even keep the bathrooms in our public parks clean, and we're sending millions overseas. And it's like the most ridiculous things. And there's been actual scandals up here with government spending. I don't know if you heard about the Arrive Can app. It was the app we all had to download during COVID. And I'm a software guy. I know exactly how much it would cost to build this app, even if you inflated the cost, 10 times, and it wouldn't cost you more than 1 million. And even that's ridiculous. And this app ended up costing them $60 million to build, and it doesn't work, and it never worked. And it's just like this, like that's crazy. That's money laundering.
Yeah, don't you just wish that you could see the receipts? Like, where I want to follow the trail. Like, where is that
Yeah,
money gone?
yeah,
Um, No, I mean, we have the same thing here in the United States. It's crazy. I keep seeing, I guess Instagram has trained my algorithm to show me that Congresswoman, like Omar or whatever,
uh-huh.
the Muslim one, or I think she's Muslim. I don't know. Whatever she is, how she went from like her in when she got into Congress in 2020 or something, she was $65,000 in debt. And then 1 year later, her net worth was now $65,000. A year later, it was like $200,000. And then it was $500,000. Now she's worth $30 million in like 4 or 5 years. I'm like,
Crazy.
how does that happen? Like she gets
Yeah,
paid $1,000 a year. What kind of money laundering is going
yeah,
on with this?
yeah, yeah. That's how you know it's corrupt.
Yeah. No, I wish we could find those receipts and actually see where the money's going, because it's not donations. Like no one's just giving these people money.
Yeah,
Um,
kickbacks.
yeah. How have your views changed since you found Bitcoin? You said you found it around 2020, of course, when all the crap was happening.
Mhm.
How have your views changed and your life changed in those past like 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, definitely more optimistic. I think it's interesting. Like I was never super political, and then all this stuff started happening with COVID, and that, I was already kind of aware, but then I became very aware of, how corrupt things are behind the scenes. Um, but it almost directly overlapped my learning about Bitcoin. And so if I didn't have Bitcoin, um, I think I'd be pretty, without hope, really, that is the word that I'm looking for. But thankfully, I did have Bitcoin, um, because I think it's the answer. And and yeah, I'm just thinking about the future on a Bitcoin standard.
What
It's
does
going
that
to be
look
so
like?
much better.
Yeah, what does
Well,
that look like to you?
you take away the government's ability to create money from nothing first, right? So I think that dramatically reduces these forever wars from occurring, because this is big business. for these people. Every crisis, every war, it's an opportunity to make money and consolidate power and throw down new laws and regulations. Um, but on a Bitcoin standard, I think the biggest difference for how the government would work is they would actually have to govern according to the will of the people. Um, because at the end of the day, they can't create money, and if they're doing that to go fight a war in the Middle East that nobody wants, nobody's voting for war and killing 100,000 civilians. They wouldn't be able to do that, or they would have to convince us that it was so absolutely necessary to do this and that people were in favor of it. And it just makes for a much more honest system, at least from starting with a foundation of sound mind.
Yeah. No, I said this recently on a different podcast, and I was like, if the government had to ask its people, to fund a war, like no wars would happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what you just said is, if the government was like, hey, we need to spend $600 million this year on sending it to Israel, like I'm pretty sure the United States would be like, no, like I don't want to do that. Like I'm fine.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we're coming up around 50 minutes here. I just had a quick few questions and but what are your thoughts on the Bitcoin price right now?
I think there's more upside than downside.
Okay. Do you
I
have
think
any wild predictions for next year?
wild predictions. Let me give a USD 400K USD
Next year?
2026.
Dang, I'd take that.
Yeah.
I need to buy more then. Um no, that's awesome. Most people I've talked to, yeah, they're very optimistic about next year because we never did get that blow off top, and now we're just sitting, around 90K. So, uh, I think a lot of people are on board with what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we didn't mention that you wanted to bring up about Beaver or about your company, about
For
Canada?
sure. I think, and I know you're in the States, but if there are any Canadians watching, we built Beaver really as a simple platform to buy Bitcoin. I think it's the exchange you want to recommend when you're orange pilling your family members or your friends. That's why we built it to make that whole experience as easy and as smooth as possible, and so that they're doing it the right way, taking self custody by default. So check it out. And yeah, that's really it. We write a weekly newsletter. We got a podcast. Um, Maybe some links for the description.
Yeah,
Like and
no,
subscribe.
I'll link you guys. I'll link it down in the description. What's your podcast name?
So if you just YouTube Beaver Bitcoin, will show up. We just named the podcast why Bitcoin wins.
Oh, nice. Okay, sweet. No, I'll subscribe. That's super cool. I'll link your guys' YouTube and your company and everything down in the description below. But I appreciate you doing this, man.
Of
I know
course.
you're a busy guy, and it was fun talking to you. I do actually have a decent amount. Of course, Americans are my number one listeners, but second is Canadians.
All right on.
So they'll hear
Yeah,
this.
yeah, we do a good job up here. We've got the second highest number of Bitcoin treasury companies. It's like not doing strategy, but just holding Bitcoin, which I think is impressive. Like, compared to the States, we're not that far off, but we've got way less people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and
Yeah,
stay in
thank you.
touch. Shout out to Joel Hodelman for connecting us. He
Yeah,
gave the recommendation. Please like and subscribe to this channel, this video. Please share it with all your Canadian friends. Tell them to go get Beaver Bitcoin. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
thanks, Vince.
Peace.
Peace.